Welcome to Follow Your Joy podcast, where intuition is the doorway to your elevated creativity, more joy, and prosperity. I'm your host, Marla Diane, and I've been living an intuitive life for decades as a creative. That translates to transforming creative entrepreneurs' lives for over 27 years through two businesses as a business strategist and a life designer. And prior to that, an entertainment publicist and talent manager. Follow Your Joy is an entrepreneurial resource for creatives sharing their challenge to victory stories through the lens of listening to their intuition. It's time to make joy your inner GPS for life and business decisions rather than lean on your logic and reason first. You'll not only be following what is most authentic for you, but you will live the beautiful life meant just for you. Want to learn how to access, trust, or up-level your intuition? Join me in the conversation to find out how. All right, creatives, how are you today? It's April 17th. And our first quarter of the year has ended. I hope it went well for you. So this episode is very fortuitous. I love this. And that is not only is Liberate Your Life in Tuscany and Umbria webinar day, but my guest lives in Italy. Right, and has a unique business between her and her husband. And it was built based on, that is her business, built on an intuitive, timely offer, which we're going to get into. But first, before I introduce Chris, our special guest, is I want to give you details of today's webinar. All right. Those of you that follow me on, Instagram and Facebook, I know you've seen the many, many posts that we've done. And I had my co-host, Rico, in our previous episode. We did an entire episode on what the webinar was going to cover, our transformational stories and all that. So I'm going to bring it back home again for the moment. And that is, it's from 4 o'clock, that's Pacific, or 7 o'clock Eastern, for about, 75 minutes. And if you're listening to this after April 17th, you're welcome to register anyway, because we'll send you the recording. It's kind of an evergreen topic, right, about travel, although you will have missed the actual webinar, but you can at least watch it all, because it's what we're doing is not only are we, which is the focus of it, is how our connection, Rico and I, how our connection to Italy and our love of Italy and traveling there as laptop lifestyle entrepreneurs, how it changed our lives, right? Is literally, I mean, there's got to be a vortex that's in Italy. It's such a quality of life, and it's so far different, right, from the United States and how we tend to live our lives, that it is transformational. So that's the core of what we're sharing in the webinar. But then what we're going to do, it's a preview of our 9-day, right, 8-night culinary adventure that we're doing in September in Tuscany and Umbria. So we're going to go through all the details of that and the excursions we're doing and the beautiful Villa Vetrachina that we're staying at near Siena. It's all that and more. All right. So I'll have the link in the show notes for you to register. And yes, please bring your friends, have your own wine as you're sitting there on the webinar and enjoying the whole thing. That's really what this is, kind of an experiential, let's talk about Italy and let's dream, right? Okay. So very good. Let's kind of move into then my guest. So Chris, in fact, I met her, right, in her Facebook group, all about Italy. And that was only a couple months ago. So her and her husband, Pete, own Super Savvy Travelers, and they live and work in Italy. She's going to give you all the details of the town, beautiful. Let's see if I pronounced it right. Calabria.
Calabria. Yeah, the region of Calabria. Yeah.
Okay, Calabria, which
Mhm.
is south. It's about 5 hours just north of Sicily, which I'm going to need to definitely check this area out. But so yes, is that they live there and they're marketing consultants, property and community developers who essentially match their clients with the professionals in their network, right?
Mhm.
To find, purchase, and renovate Italian properties. So if you're literally been dreaming, having that desire, if you will, of wanting to move to Italy, Chris is going to be the one you're going to want to connect with. Absolute trustful resource. They also provide marketing services for property sellers too. So an important piece to this, everyone, is that they're not real estate agents, okay? They are essentially building up, if you will, the economy, right, in the areas that they do the renovation of the properties. They're supportive of the economy there, and they're renovation experts, and they know how to connect you to the right people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they too, made a life around the beautiful culture that Italy offers. So what I love what says on her website is their mission is to share the unspoiled beauty, food, and culture of Italy with friends globally and help them find and renovate properties for the use of vacation or full-time homes. Yeah, super, super important. So what a great resource, everyone. Please, let's welcome Chris to Follow Your Joy.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, terrific. Do me a favor, pronounce your last name for us.
It's Sobolev.
Sobolev. Okay, that's
Yeah.
Sobolev. You'll see that in the show notes, but I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that I pronounced that right. Okay, so let's have you start with share the highlights of your journey. In other words, what happened in your life that led you to moving to Italy and building a business, including your musical background and where that's kind of came from. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So long story, actually. We as we had talked, you and I have talked a little bit, but right around 2009, 2010, our kids were starting to grow up and make their own lives. And I noticed that a lot of friends were getting divorced. And I thought, that's really weird. All of a sudden, they're getting divorced. And so I started asking a lot of questions. And what I found out was that after their kids had grown and they had been educated, they'd been fed, they'd been kept healthy and kept alive, which is always a big challenge with kids. Um, they sort of went off in their own directions. They didn't have any goals in common. So I thought, okay, well, that's easy. We just have to have a goal in common. And I've always loved, Europe. I lived in Europe when I was a kid. I was a big fan of Peter Mayow's Year in Provence. I don't know if you remember that book and videos and everything. Oh, I just ate that up. And so I looked, in France and then in Greece and then really all over and ended up really, really loving the idea of moving to Italy. So that gave me a good project to work on for about a year of research. My husband traveled a lot, so he didn't know this was coming very much. And I said, we're going to go buy a house in Italy. And he said, okay, we'll go and look. But I'm like, no, we're going to buy. By then, I had done all the research. And we did. We went over in 2010 and we bought our first house over here.
Hmm.
And we renovated it and just had fun going back and forth while we were both working.
Hmm.
And then finally, a few years ago, right before COVID, I was basically I had started a travel agency. And then, of course, COVID threw that into a cocked hat right away. So then this invitation that you had mentioned, this opportunity, our architect in our village had said, Chris, if you ever want to bring Americans over and we can show them properties, we can renovate them, we can do all these things. And I guess it sort of percolated for a while in my universe. And after COVID, I went, why not? I mean, we know how to do this. We've done it. We already owned several rental properties. We'd done some renovations on those. Our renovation in Santa Domenica was a huge project, and it came out beautifully. So that's kind of how it started. We started out after COVID, well, really kind of during COVID. I got over here and we started touring with the architect, and this was the most fun I've ever had. We go through these crusty ruins with, and some you have to walk on the edges because the floor will fall in.
Oh my goodness.
So we'd go through and we go, well, can we rip out that wall? And he'd go, no, that's a load-bearing wall. Okay, what about this? Can we put the kitchen here? We'll put a big windows here. And we would just both like create the space. And people loved that. And they came streaming as soon as COVID was over. They came streaming over. Really, really, just it was almost unmanageable. He and I were we were exhausted. But it was a huge impact on that little town. It was a town of 1,200 people. And suddenly all these retirees were coming in. They were moving. They were buying homes. People were buying vacation homes. It was literally crazy. So I was amazed at the impact that had. And not only the impact on people's dreams, because with COVID, I knew I had to give them something to look at beyond COVID. Because like if you go to the dentist, you're focused on the dentist, right? It's best to look at what are you going to do after the dentist? Right. And then that gets you through the dentist appointment.
Yeah. It's a good analogy. Okay.
Yeah. So my focus was to get everybody just pumped up and dreaming and get them through COVID. And they did, and they all came over, which was crazy fun. So that's how the whole thing started. And since then, we've developed an associate agency network here in Calabria and in Puglia, where we have trusted agents that we can send people to. We have the whole network of architects and engineers and geometras and even furniture makers, bespoke furniture makers, people who sell beds, people who sell armadios and that kind of stuff. And even in Puglia, we now have an engineer and a building team over there as well. And we're finding all the best places to buy kitchens. And I mean, that's so much fun. So yeah, it's really fun.
Wonderful. Where was the first house that you bought?
It was in Santa Domenica Talau.
And where exactly is that in Italy?
Okay, here's the tip of Calabria here, and we're kind of right there. Now, on the coast is Scalea, and if you go about 6 kilometers up the hill from Scalea, that's where Santa Domenica is. It's a beautiful hill town, absolutely stunning. Yeah. Just everything you could possibly imagine about the perfect Italian hill town.
Oh, God.
You'll have to come someday.
I know. I'm like sitting here making notes. Okay, Marla. Because look, I made a pact with myself. When I shared with you about my finally achieving my dream to go to Italy, and I made a pact with myself after that month-long stay in Florence that I would. Now that I finally honored that, opened that up in my heart, I went, okay, I'm going back as best as I am able every year so I can explore all parts of Italy, right? So I'm adding this to my list.
Good.
I'm like, okay, Chris, you talked me into it. I got to see what you're talking about.
It is quite magical.
Yeah, it sounds like a beautiful area, and I'm definitely going to research that when we're done here. So it's interesting. Okay, so part of how I live my life, it's very metaphysical, meaning I believe in universal law. I believe in, the attraction principle, the law of attraction, how we think and feel, is what we create in our life. Would you say that this architect, this, connection showed up right after you had just spent, if I'm correct, see if I get the timelines right, you had just spent a bunch of time researching this, and then he shows up in your life, is that right?
Well, it was kind of after we bought the first house and we were renovating it.
Okay.
and working closely with him. And I think I was starting to think along those lines, like, okay, we're here, we're established. It's great that you have a house and you run to the beach all the time and eat out and everything, but we need more. We need a big game that we can really sink our teeth into. And so I said, Antonello, let's do that. And we started bringing people over. And then, of course, when COVID hit, and then when I pivoted from the
Yeah,
travel agency thing and really said, this is going to be my line of work,
sure.
that's when everything just took off.
Everything worked.
Yeah.
But take me back to how you even met him. How did he show up in your life is my point.
Okay. He was the architect on our first project, on our first house.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is I want to connect the dots for you here. Okay. Let's
Okay.
let's
Okay.
have fun with this. So in your timeline, you were
Mhm.
already, before you met him, you were already doing research on moving to or finding a property in Italy, were you not?
Yes, I was.
That's my point.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that what we do, and maybe this is the first time somebody bringing this to your attention, but that's how powerful we are, right? Is nothing is ever a coincidence. It is not
No,
a
you're right.
coincidence that that architect showed up in your life. It wasn't just, oh wow, that's so cool. You manifested that, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
That was all part of the year of research and doing what you were doing to
Yeah.
find a property or find a hilltop town or whatever it was you were looking for. That's all part of what I call the energy that you were putting into your focus. See?
Yeah.
And we literally, that's the law of attraction. You brought to you him. You were meant to do that, somebody. And it
Hmm.
happened to be him. But that's the power that we have that's so amazing in our life when we're conscious of it.
Yeah, I've thought of that a lot because and I just sent him an email and I said somehow we all found each other because he's the brother of the mayor. So
Ah,
the mayor is able to get a bunch of grants and then Antonello uses them to make the town beautiful and
nice.
he and I promote the town. And
Nice.
I said, it's in the Renaissance when everybody was born, all these fabulous artists were born in and around Florence. That's not a coincidence either. That was
Mhm.
somebody's idea.
Yeah,
And our little mini Renaissance of Santa Domenica Talao is the same type of thing.
that's right.
We
Yeah.
all found each other.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing. Remember Oprah, this is a quote that Oprah said a long time ago, which is so true to this, which is nothing is ever, no, let me back up. Yeah, something to the effect of nothing is a coincidence. Everything is happening in your life exactly how it's supposed to happen.
Yep.
Something to that effect.
Yep. It's
Nothing is
true.
out of order. That's what it was. Nothing is
Ah,
ever out of order
mm-hmm.
that happens in your life.
True.
And that's the law of attraction principle, as well as then, some of what we're kind of destined to be doing. So anyway, all that to say, awesome story. Very
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah, awesome story. And I just wanted to real quickly touch on, you were a music teacher before all this?
Yeah, I've always been a musician, really since I can remember. And when I was like in my 20s and 30s and even 40s, I
Mhm.
was playing in bands and playing out and, doing all of that. It was a lot of fun. And then I started teaching music after I was in workers' comp, which in California is just very stressful. So I got out of that. I got all burned out, and then I got out of that and started
Yeah.
teaching music, and it
Yeah.
was a lot of fun. And I still, some of the videos that I do, you'll notice the piano music that's my music. I do it and record it and put it on the channel.
Oh, beautiful. I was just going to ask, what's the instrument you play? You play the piano.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was violin. Voice has been my main instrument lately because, I started having neck issues, so I can't really play the violin much anymore.
Mm.
Although I got a great physical therapist, so who knows? We'll see. But
Tell
yeah,
me,
singing. songwriting, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Beautiful. So as long as in other words, what I love to, support my creatives in is whatever that art is, right?
Mhm.
Whatever that art is, please stay connected to it. It's literally part of your soul.
It is.
It literally gives us life, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
even though you may not monetize it anymore, that's okay.
Yeah.
Please stay connected to it. Keep singing, doing piano, whatever you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is necessary. If you have any kind of work that's fast paced, stressful,
Yeah,
you have to have something like that.
that's
It
right.
it feeds you.
It does feed you.
Mhm.
In fact, you may have heard this about Einstein. I mean, anytime Einstein, and this is all part of my creative world since I work with creatives,
Mhm.
um, is that anytime Einstein got, kind of stuck on a concept or a formula, whatever he was working on, he would go play his violin.
Mhm.
He'd go play his violin to open up his creative, space, if you will, to shift the focus. I call it, kind of break the pattern, and he would connect to his creativity and go play, his violin. So yeah, really important piece here for you. Okay. So what brings you then the most joy? Not that we didn't get that from the story, but what today really brings you the most joy in what you do in your business?
Well, I think, what I found in life and what the Italians and the Calabrians knew all along is that the secret to happiness
Mm,
is helping other people and doing whatever you can to help make their life better, make them happy. When we came into Santa Domenica and we brought all this work in, and people were thanking me for bringing in work,
mm,
and I would get fruits and vegetables on my doorstep. I would get all kinds of beautiful gifts and thank yous. And one of the guys, because we branched out down into Scalea because a lot of our guys are coming there too, and there was a guy named Mimo, and he is a contractor, and I referred several of my guys to him.
mm,
And he said, I have to tell you, this guy I hired, he has 5 kids, and they have like a welfare pension thing. And he said, and he's working for me, and he's so happy. And that's what brings me joy. That's what gives me goosebumps. That's what makes me, cry a little bit with happiness. Was you can have an impact so easily on somebody's life that changes their entire life, and you hardly know it, and you hardly have to lift a finger to do it, and then it happens, and you're like, you talk about power. I mean, that's some power in life.
yes, absolutely.
So yeah, that's what brings me the most joy.
I totally get it. Oh my, I mean,
Yeah.
talk about a really a meaningful, right? A meaningful
Yeah.
existence, right?
Yeah.
Is so many of us, I mean, I think it's very natural for us as humans, is that we deep down we want to have a meaning in people's lives. We want to know
Yeah.
we've made an impact.
Mhm.
What have we done to uplift their lives? I mean, that's my entire business model.
Yeah.
I do as a coach. It's like that right there. What you explained is, I mean, it's why I do what I do. I love to uplift humanity, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To
There's
uplift.
nothing better.
There's nothing better than having that meaning. And that's what happened, what caused me to shift my 20-year career, right, in entertainment PR is I went, okay, fabulous run, ton of fun, but now I want more meaning in my life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Things like money and whatnot, that doesn't get you out of bed in the morning at all.
Yeah,
It's really what we do that
that
gets
is
us up and excited.
so true. When you mention about dropping fruits and veggies at your door as a thank you. I mean, that's an example, everybody, that why Chris, myself, and thousands of others love the Italian culture is that they're so gracious. I mean,
Yeah.
they're such gracious people.
Yeah.
And you fall in love with not only obviously the people and the culture because of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was in Lake Como, right? It was in 2018, and I stayed at an Airbnb. And the first, I don't know, maybe couple hours, the woman that owned the Airbnb, who happened to be in the same building that I was in, obviously, I was in her building. I get this at my doorstep. I get these veggies from their garden.
Oh,
It was
nice.
the sweetest thing. I opened up I think either they knocked or I don't remember, but it was this, paper bag, right,
Yeah,
full of all these fresh veggies from their garden. And I just went, oh my God, that's it. That's the Italian culture.
it is. It is. They're especially in Calabria, they're so warm and they're
Mhm.
so open and so giving.
Mhm.
It's I think, because there was a meeting we had when we were going to open Casa Cristina, which is our little B&B, our cute little boutique hotel in Santa Domenica.
Mhm.
There was a big meeting with all the mayors. There was a big deal. Like once again, to me, it's like, okay, we're going to do this, but then all the mayors were there. I'm like, wow, I guess it's a big deal down here. And they wanted to know, why would you ever do something like that? And I said, you don't understand
Yeah.
this community, this love, and this value for every single individual,
Mhm.
just as they are,
Mhm.
is we're losing that in America. We're losing it all over the
Yes.
world. And
Yes.
we're hungry for it, but we don't know what we're hungry for,
Mhm.
And so I said, you guys have what we all want in our deepest, darkest heart. We want that connection. We want that community. And you just wake up and you're here and there it is.
Mm.
And they've never lived without it. So they don't know how
No.
lonely you can be, even when you're surrounded by people.
It's such a difference. I mean,
Yeah.
such a difference. And I absolutely relate with that. That was probably the most profound impact that
Mhm.
my month-long stay in Florence had on me, that confirmed why it was that I was so attracted to it, which that was how transformed I was as a result of that experience. And I remember standing this is my very last day, right? And I was in Santa Maria, the train station in Florence,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Um, and I'm looking at the train, and I'm this transformed human being. And I
Mhm.
said to God, I go, okay, God, please help me take this Marla and bring it back to my old life in California and help
Yeah.
change my life with these and live my life this way,
Yes. Yes.
honestly. And that's exactly what I intended to do. It took about 4 months of a lot of consciousness. Okay,
Mhm.
Marla, in any given day, what would you be doing if you were in Florence right now? Right? How would you
Yeah.
be responding to this if you were in Florence? I mean, it literally, I emotionally and mentally put myself in that place so that I would change my old life to where I was as a result.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're right. The mindfulness part is important because it's so easy to fall back into the same
Oh,
pattern when you're back in the same
so
environment.
easy. Yeah, so
Yeah.
easy to do
Yeah.
that. It's
Good
amazing.
job.
So talk to us about Cristina. Is that what it's called?
Casa Christina, my
Yeah.
husband named it. It's yeah. This was a project that started way long time ago. Actually, there have been delays on it, but we saw this building, and initially when we were looking for our first house, we looked at it, and they wanted too much money, and there was a lot to renovate, and we just loved it. And then right when Antonello, our architect, had said, hey, let's blah, 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 let's get together and do these things. I said, well, tell me about that building over there. Somebody bought it. Nobody's doing anything with it. He said, it's for sale. And I said, oh, really? And then I talked to Pete. I said, look, if it's below this amount, we should get it. And it was way below that amount. I mean, it was
Oh,
half of what, not half, almost half of what it initially they were asking, and to where it was a no-brainer. And I said, okay, we're getting it.
yeah.
And
Wow.
it's been a project that has been for Antonello and our builder Salvatore. We have Antonello and Salvatore. These are the two, just you walk in the village and you see their work everywhere. They are master architect and master builders. And I said, we're just going to let them go nuts on this thing. And they did. And they put in some of the most beautiful accents and beautiful finishes and just absolutely amazing. And one thing about Calabria, renovations are very inexpensive here. There's no way we could do that in California to get, we got the marble capitals on the facade, we've got the marble this and the marble that and the staircase and all of that stuff. And there's really no way we could get the high-end stuff, like even the bespoke furniture makers, he made all our doors, they're all chestnut. And this is a family operation, so they get the business and everything else, but it's absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. And we still need a little more furniture because I forgot how big it was. It's kind of big right now. So I have to go furniture shopping, but it's beautiful. It's right steps from the piazza. We have a little thing where instead of serving breakfast at Casa Cristina, we send them to the bar and they get a free breakfast at the bar and they can hang out with the barkeep and the coffee shop and stuff in the piazza. So it's a beautiful thing. And like I said, our first guests had an absolutely wonderful time. They just loved it. So we're very excited about that. It's if you see pictures of Santa Domenica Talao, it's what you would expect in a village like that as far as accommodations go. So we think they just knocked it out of the park on this little place.
Okay, so you literally just finished it, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. Well, we're still screwing in light bulbs too. So.
Still screwing in light bulbs, and you just had your first guest, right?
Yeah. We got the room in the common area with light bulbs, but the rest of the room
still need lights. That's
yeah.
So where, and I'll put this in the show notes. So is it at your website that people can book or look at it or what?
Well, Pete is still putting up the booking site because we had to wait until everything was done and staged. And he finally went in and took pictures because you know how that goes with a renovation. Yeah. Everything happens at the last minute. So he finally got in, he took the pictures, he's putting up the booking site. But if people want to reserve a spot, they can email me at info@supersavvytravelers.com and we can reserve a spot and go back and forth and send details and whatnot there. Okay. But the booking site will be up soon.
Okay. So for now, you can email photos to people and all of that.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So remember that, everyone, is right now, if you're interested, definitely go to her website. I think you have actually a couple in videos in production or in construction type videos, if I'm correct.
Oh, lots. Yeah.
Around that. Yeah. But yes, go to her website and then email her. And again, I'll drop that in the show notes so you can get some pictures sent to you, which I'm going to be doing myself. I would love for you to send that to me as well, because I might be one of your guests.
Oh, gosh, I would love that so much.
Yeah.
We have also our celebrity chef in Santa Domenica, so we can set up cooking classes with him.
That's there's something about these because we have a wonderful chef for the September trip. Yeah, Chef Francesco, who's part of that community, that area, but he's the chef for Villa Venturina.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, it
wonderful.
seems like that's how it rolls in Italy. It's like everyone's got a chef that they can bring to whatever. It's amazing. Yeah, it's
there's so many great chefs here. It's unreal.
It is unreal. I'm like, oh, that's it. I'm packing my bags. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love talking about this topic. You can't tell on that one. Okay, good. So Casa Cristina is ready, and tell us too, before we kind of go into the intuitive story, if there is anything more around the architect, but tell us about the Facebook group that you have.
Oh, yeah, I was a little late on the mark on that. I mean, usually people start a business, they start a Facebook group, and I, for some reason, didn't think of it.
Yeah.
But once I started it, a lot of really nice people started coming, and they were coming from the YouTube channel,
Yeah.
and kind of thing. And it's just a wonderful group. There's a lot of people who are living in this area who have vacation homes, but there's people all over Italy.
Mhm.
And we post, fun stories, a lot of beautiful pictures, just everything about Italy, a lot of food stuff,
Yeah.
which is usually me,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. It's just a really nice group of people that love to talk about Italy and plan and dream. And the thing about my group that I find that I really take as a responsibility, dreams are extremely fragile. And it doesn't take much to really stomp them into the dust, as
Mm,
we all know, because I'm sure we've all had our dreams stomped into the dust more than once.
mm.
So I make sure on the channel that everybody's nice to each other, that there's no nastiness. There's so much nastiness on social media, and I
Oh,
just
yeah.
don't,
Yeah.
it's my group
Yeah.
and it's my living room,
Yeah.
and you don't get to act out in my living
God.
room. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
as a member of that group, I do want to tell you, everybody, it's true, is that that's I love hanging out in her group because the vibe that's there. Chris has really created this just kind of warm Italian, you know, very Italian-esque vibe to the group, which is very welcoming, very warm. Let's have fun. Let's enjoy this. Be nice to each other.
Mhm.
In other words, it's like we know that, meaning we know that we're going to be nice to each other. There isn't any of these, whatever they're called, crawlers. Um, so yes, I can vouch for that being a member, which is again how I met you. So yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lovely group. It's called All About Italy. And
Mhm.
that's the caps on the A, All About Italy. Please go join it. It's a lot of
Thank you. Yeah, it's a wonderful group, and it's really our happy place. We go
fun.
there to talk to people and just be happy and enjoy.
Yeah, I like that. It is a happy place.
Yeah.
It's definitely that. So let's kind of move into if there is any more to that story, is I'd like to bring up, which is kind of the core of Follow Your Joy podcast, is the intuitive, us following our intuition first,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
This is the concept, is following your intuition, making that your first sense, not your sixth sense.
Hmm.
And following that in business and in personal life, for you to literally learn how to listen to that because it's meant for you. It's meant to transform you. It's meant to support you rather than use the logic, the linear, the functional mindset, right? Which is where
Hmm.
we automatically default to. I'm here to
Hmm.
change that formula. So
Yeah,
you listen to that intuition and then let the logic and the linear help you take the action on that guidance, right?
exactly. Yes.
So, what's the story for you, right? That really created a fulfilling result, which I think we've kind of just talked about it, but elaborate a little more on that.
Well, I think for me, I really had to understand what I was. What is my hat in life?
Mhm.
I'm a musician, I'm an artist, I did a lot of writing. I've got this and that and the other thing going. I love to renovate houses. And it wasn't until I realized that my hat in life is a communicator. I communicate, and that is what I do. I network communication. I bring it in. I dole it out. My whole bailiwick is communication because art is communication. Music is, it's all communication. And once I realized that, life just got a lot simpler. Like, okay, how do I communicate on this or that? And before that, I was like, I know I'm going somewhere, but I don't see how all these disparate pieces fit in. Like, how does music and art and a YouTube channel about Italy, how does that relate? And when I realized I'm a communicator, it all fell in line. And I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I had to find that before I could really go nuts and make it to align all the vectors and just go forward, you know?
And how did you, so talk a little bit about that. So when you say I had to find that, what did you do to find that?
Oh gosh, what did I do to find that? That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I think I just really confronted what was bothering me, which was I have this and that and this and that. What am I in life? You know, what am I? Am I a
Mm.
teacher? Am I a musician? Am I a singer? Am I a, you know, I was a dancer at one time. Am I all these things? There's got to be one thing that I am, and everything else falls in as a subcategory.
Yep.
And I think once I realized that I really needed to line that up,
Mhm.
that's that's when I came across that too. I forget, there was, of course, always there's some triggering factor. I can't remember what it was.
Mm.
I think I was just typing away one day and I was just like, well,
Yeah.
I guess I'm a communicator.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
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 So yeah,
Mhm.
I think really how I got there was I had to confront that question in answer to your question.
Like, who am I? Right?
Yeah, who am I
Who
and
am I?
what
What am I
am I?
doing? How am I taking this,
Yeah.
putting it out in the world that is meaningful, that has an impact, that makes
Right.
me happy, so have you heard of, speaking of that, it's one of the things I coach. It's called your zone of genius. Have you heard of
You're,
this?
you're
Your
what?
your zone of genius.
No, but
Mm.
it's intriguing.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll talk after this, but go read the book, Big Leap.
Okay.
The Big Leap, it's by Gay Hendricks. It's part of my curriculum that I coach. And what I'm hearing, my mindset's going, oh my gosh, she totally found her zone of genius. So,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
yeah, your zone of genius is in a hierarchy. If you imagine a kind of a triangle, right?
Mhm.
And there's zones of competence, right?
Okay.
And we have our competence, which is the lowest one, and then you have your um excellent zone, and then you have your genius zone. And
Ah.
where we tend to, and this is just a logical explanation, there's a lot more to it on the creative side,
Mhm.
but we typically, as human beings, we operate in our excellent zone most of the time. Nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that, right? Nothing
Mhm.
wrong with that. Meaning it's what we're known for, it's what we do, we can do it in our sleep, it's what we typically have been paid to do. It's our comfort zone.
Mhm.
A genius zone, as in the big leap, is
Ah,
living, operating in that zone of genius because it brings you, and here's the qualities: your most joy, your best income, your
mhm.
highest creativity. It's the zone, it's your, like you said, the happy place.
Yeah.
Literally, and that's what I call it as I'm coaching my creatives, is that you're living and operating and working in that zone of genius. And the only thing that's going to kick you out of it is all of our, what I call our ego mind,
Mhm.
which says, I don't deserve this, or I'm going to sabotage it. I'm going to go back to what I know best.
Mhm.
Because it's literally, I'm inspiring you to be in your happiest place as an entrepreneur, monetizing that and impacting lives.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful. I love it.
You found it. You've got
Yeah.
your zone of genius by, if you go to the trail that you were on, I'm a communicator. Oh, well, how do I communicate all that? And then it just kind of like built upon each other to where you are today.
Right.
It's great.
Exactly.
I love
That's,
it.
yeah. Yeah. That's great. I love that explanation too. Thank you.
Well done. I mean, you had a beautiful explanation of, the intuition of, yeah, I had to go back and go, what is my, and I call it divine discontent. You were in discontent
Mhm.
some level, and you're like, okay, well, who am I? How do I integrate all of me?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. very much so.
Love that. Okay. So let's go ahead and yeah, let's to let people know where they can get a hold of you. Um, all of that. Where can they, what are you offering? So let us know.
Well, we have, our YouTube channel is Super Savvy Travelers. That's probably the biggest, that's where I put the most attention, we'll just say, because I post really as close to every day as I possibly can.
Okay.
And, a lot of it's properties and things like that, but a lot of it, here's a great pizzeria. I just posted a thing on this amazing pizza oven I saw, which was very cool. So, yeah, that's probably where you're going to find the most day-to-day, the most updated information. Our legal experts come in and they do videos with us as well.
Okay.
Our medical experts even come in, which I had a whole experience with that, as you know. I'm an expert in Italian medical care as from the patient side.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, so it's a great place to get all kinds of information. If you want to contact us, you can contact us at info@supersavvytravelers.com. That's travelers with an S, plural. So yeah, and then of course all about Italy on Facebook, and we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we're on all the Twitter, everything else. But Facebook and YouTube is where I spend most of my time.
Facebook and YouTube. Okay.
Yeah,
And
he does everything else.
we'll put this in the show notes. So on LinkedIn, what's the name? Is it under Super Savvy Travelers, under your name for social
No,
media?
it's under Super Savvy. Everything's under Super
Super
Savvy
Savvy.
Travel.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And as I said, everyone, I'll put that in the show notes so you can get over there as well. I'll give you the link to the Facebook group. All right. I'll give you the link how to get over there and ask request to be accepted. So very good. So to kind of finish this off, based on your experience, right, which is vast, what type of key advice do you have for our creatives?
Well, I have to say, having done what I've been doing, I've learned some very, very hard lessons.
Mm,
Happily, not hard lessons really, but happily, I made sure to make that my ethics were in, that my legal rudiments were all in. Everything was absolutely spot on. Everything I do has to be the greatest good for the greatest number around me. That's how I have to live my life, and that ethically puts you on the right path. And then working with Nick Mehta, who's our attorney and our associate,
mm,
um, I don't know if I can plug him, but he's fabulous. So, as Studio Legale Meta, they're wonderful. He does a lot of interviews with us, and had him go over all of our stuff, our websites, our YouTube channel, make sure we have disclaimers in, make sure our business is completely up to snuff and everything else. And we have had, I will be honest, we've had attacks on us,
mm,
and it's because we had everything in line that we were able to come through them. And some of them were quite brutal. So yeah, if you have that in line and you always work on the greatest good for the greatest number around you, you'll come through anything, really. Really, you will. And sometimes doing what's the greatest good for the greatest number around you
mm.
can be unpopular. So, but you still have to do it. You have no choice.
Yeah, boy, that's very, very wise advice for sure. Yeah, you'll have to give me, is there a website for the attorney that you're talking
Yeah,
about?
I can send you. It's basically studiolegalemeta.com.
Yeah, let's have you send that to me so I can
I'll send it.
make sure that I put that in the show notes.
Okay.
Be happy to have that resource for everybody.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for being here.
Oh, thank you. It was so much fun. I mean, like you said, we could talk for hours.
Hours and hours. Yeah, it's like, okay, gotta finish this up elsewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely am gonna, email you. I'd like to see pictures and get an idea of Casa Cristina, because I also love to, as you know, promote anything Italy wise. So
Yeah.
please,
Okay.
Happy
Yeah.
to put you on social media about that one.
Oh, thank you so much. I would love that. I would love that. And I'd love to see you up there. I think you would love this village. It's everything you could ever wish for in a village.
Sounds amazing. Am I assuming, how do you get there? Do you fly into Rome and take the train down? I mean, what's the typical route?
Yeah, we fly into Rome, and then they have the Freccia Rossa, Freccia Argento, and Freccia Bianca, which are the high-speed trains.
Uh-huh.
And now they stop in Scalea, which is our stop. So it's only about 3 hours on the train from Rome.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful train ride. It goes
Oh.
right along the Mediterranean Sea. It's just gorgeous.
Oh my God, it is.
Yeah, and then when you get there, you just go up to Santa Domenica, you check in, you wander around the town, you get an ice cream or a coffee or whatever you want, and just kind of, the locals are lovely. Probably Antonella will find you, and if you want a tour of the church, he will tell you how his master project was to redo the inside of the 1700s church, and he loves to take people through it. So it's just it's an experience you'll never forget.
Look, been there 3 times. I get it, right? And those of you that are still wondering and waiting for you the right time, get on our webinar next week. Get on our webinar. Link is in the show notes. Let us take you through exactly what I've been talking about with Chris, how Italy changes you, and our culinary adventure, amazing 9-day trip. It's like, go experience this or come back if it's been like 10 years, right? It's been a while and you haven't let yourself go back to Italy, then seriously, please join Rico and I. It's going to sound a lot like this, what Chris and I have just been talking about. But we literally want to walk you through what we're doing, from wine tasting tour to a dinner in an olive grove down in Montefalco to, a bike ride along the countryside there in Siena. I mean, come on.
What's not to love?
What's not to love? What are you waiting for? Oh my gosh, get on it, right? Let us
Yeah.
show you. So, okay. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And everybody, as you have listened, when you follow your intuition, you follow your joy, which they're intricately connected, right?
Mhm.
Following your joy is not just a really nice thing to do. It's literally a life strategy.
Yes, absolutely.
Following your joy. Talk to the Italians. Boy, do they know what that's about.
They sure do.
Right? Yeah. All right. Terrific. Thank you again. And everyone, we will see you on the next episode, but please pass this episode along to your friends, especially those that are literally thinking about, moving, or better yet, owning property in Italy and renovating. Chris is your go-to, right? Wonderful. All right. Take care, everyone. Ciao.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Hey, thanks for listening. You can find more entrepreneurial stories and resources at marladiane.com. And while you're there, enjoy my free downloads to uplevel your business and your life. And Instagram. It's my favorite place to hang out. Let's connect there. If you received inspiration from the episode, I'd sure appreciate a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. Until next episode, take care.